today could be, could is doing a lot of work there, an interesting day in the New York criminal case, the conviction against Donald Trump for paying hush money and falsifying documents. Judge Juan Merchan may decide what today, Ellie?
So the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, the last we heard last week, they said we need a week. We need until today to decide what we want to do. So the first thing we're going to do is hear from the Manhattan DA. They're going to take one of two tacks. Either they're going to say, we agree with Donald Trump that because he's now the president-elect, this case is over. That's option one. Option two is the Manhattan DA's case may say, we disagree with Donald Trump. Even though he is president-elect, we want to proceed forward. In that case, it'll go to Judge Merchan. He'll decide whether the case is over because Trump is president-elect or whether the case carries on. If it carries on, then Judge Merchan is going to decide the immunity ruling, and then depending how that comes out, maybe proceed to sentencing. But there's a lot of ifs there. The Manhattan DA signaled in its submission last week, it sounded like they tended to view it the way that Donald Trump's team views it, which is because he's the president-elect, it's now over. But we'll see for sure today where the DA stands.
Could this thing be done by close of business today?
It could be. If the DA puts in a filing with the judge saying we agree with Donald Trump's team because he's president-elect, this case is over, then Judge Merchan will review that. If he agrees with both parties, he could say, that's it, case closed. We're not getting to the immunity ruling. We're not doing sentencing. That is a real possibility, John.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more.
Obviously, Donald Trump winning the presidential election is going to be great for America, but one of the welcome side effects is that all of these lawfare cases against Donald Trump are basically going up in smoke, as we're seeing today. The Jack Smith federal classified documents case has been put on pause, with Jack Smith, of course, going into hiding. And of course, we have Letitia James's Georgia racketeering case being put on pause as well, okay? And also in New York, you have the appeal for Donald Trump's fraud case not going so well for Letitia James. And if you haven't seen these oral arguments, really quick, check these out.
All of the defendants repeatedly violated...
Ms. Vail, can you identify any previous case in which the Attorney General sued under Executive Law 6312 to upset a private business transaction that was between equally sophisticated partners, where the supposed victim had the ability and legal obligation to discover the allegedly misrepresented matters by conducting its own due diligence, where the supposed wrongdoer advised the supposed victim through written disclaimers to conduct its own due diligence and to draw its own conclusions, where the alleged misrepresentation almost entirely concerned inherently subjective valuations of properties and businesses.
Yes.
And where the victim never complained about any fraud in the transactional losses from it. Because I've gone through the cases which you've cited, and all of them always involved a consumer protection aspect. It involved protection of the market.
Oh, several responses.
And I want to add to his question, and little to no impact on the public marketplace.
That line of questioning from the appellate judges really goes to prove what we've been saying all along on this channel, that yes, all of these charges against Donald Trump have been brought out of thin air and never would have been brought against anyone else. But because we have the name of Donald Trump and because we have the city of New York, that is why he got this supposed conviction. But of course, the judges are bringing all of that into question. So of course, that leaves the last big case against Donald Trump, the Alvin Bragg case, supposedly for the hush money. And here we have Judge Juan Merchan adjourning President Trump's November 26 sentencing date and moving it to a later date. So of course, this on the surface sounds like tremendous news because they're all realizing the futility of pursuing Donald Trump on these fake charges. And also not to mention the simple fact that he enjoys certain immunities as the president-elect, okay? And that's all coming into play as well. However, Alvin Bragg would rather burn the system down than see Donald Trump get off on these trumped-up charges, as it were, right? So Alvin Bragg is opposing the dismissal of Trump's case despite the election victory, and what he's actually advocating for in violation of the Sixth Amendment is to basically hold off on sentencing until Donald Trump is out of office. So right now it's 2024, Trump will take the presidency in 2025, and in 2029, when the next president comes in, that is when we're going to sentence Donald Trump finally, right? That does not sound like the right to a speedy trial to me, but Alvin Bragg, like I mentioned, would rather burn the whole system down than to let this opportunity to get Trump pass him by, right? And don't forget, Alvin Bragg, who is funded by George Soros, who went to the White House and met with Joe Biden before bringing these charges, is not relenting in this matter. And that, of course, makes his motivations highly suspect. So what I want to hear from now is Dr. Jonathan Turley discussing the same scenario.
In some ways, the position of the Bragg's office is what I've been worried about, and we spoke about it early this morning, that the worst possible scenario, in my view, is to keep this matter pending during the 4 years of the administration. You cannot have a local district attorney treat a sitting president like a freak on a leash, where he just is able to say that I will finish this work once you're out of office. It elevates the district attorney to a grotesque level. It also leaves this local judge as determining the ultimate outcome of the president of the United States. It doesn't serve the nation or justice to have that type of lingering question for the next 4 years. Now, it certainly serves everyone in New York politically. It serves Bragg, it likely serves this judge politically, but it doesn't serve the nation. And so the question that we'll be looking at with this new hearing that's likely to occur is whether the judge will listen to his better angels and dismiss this case. As I've said before, I do not believe that the mere election or re-election of President Trump is the basis for simply dismissing this case. I don't think that the local judge will view it that way. He has a jury verdict on all of these counts. However, he does have an off-ramp. You know, after this case, the Supreme Court did hand down its immunity decision. Now, many of us have been saying that it's likely the court will say that that was harmless error because there was a great deal of evidence that had no connection or overlap with the president's first term. The problem is that Bragg's office doubled down on the evidence coming from the White House. They used it, emphasized it in the closing argument. That allows the judge to find a way out of this. Judge Merchan could say, look, you're the ones that didn't just produce, ask for this evidence. You then brought it to the attention of the jurors, emphasized it, and I just can't unravel all these different strains of evidence to ensure that the jury was not impacted by something that you said the jury should take particular interest in. That would allow him to dismiss the case. But once again, to return where I began, the worst option for justice and for this nation is to do what Bragg is suggesting, to allow him to hold this leash on a sitting American president for 4 years. I just wrote a book on how this was an age of rage. This is the face of rage. It's addictive. It's hard to let go. And they want to drag this out for 4 more years.
So this is all about keeping those 34 felonies on Donald Trump, right? Never mind the fact that individually, all of these charges are misdemeanors, but when you put them all together, magically, they become felonies. And also never mind the fact that hush money, all right, that was paid or not, was all paid by Michael Cohen and then reimbursed by Donald Trump. And there's nothing illegal about paying hush money when you're running for president and you want to keep a supposed scandal out of the news media. But apparently in New York, they don't care about any of that. They'd rather let illegal immigrants roam the streets killing citizens than let Donald Trump get away with what they perceive as a crime. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and stay safe out there, people, because they're coming after you.